yes, that's brings us to today's topic. And as I was saying, the different that we are trying today is to be more interactive and do it via a Kahoot quiz. So I would request everyone to start joining the Kahoot. There are two ways to join. The first way is you can join it on a browser. You can simply go to www.kahoot.it and enter this game pin, and then you will be able to join. Or you can play it on your mobile. Just scan the QR code and play it on your mobile, or even on your mobile, you can go to kahoot.it and enter that game pin. I see people started joining. That's great. The more people it will be, the more interactive it would be. The how it's going to run here is that we will be having some questions and some slides. So whenever there's a slide, like Tabby would be pitching in, I will be pitching in to explain the concepts, and then there'll be a few questions to test your knowledge. I see a lot of people joining in. What I'll do is that I'm going to remove Ashish and Parna from the screen, and they'll come back during the behavioral. But for now, it will be me and Tabby who will be actually running the show. Okay, Ashish, I lost the control. Okay, got it. Yes. Tabby, your camera focus has somehow gone a bit bad. I'm not sure. Is it camera focus or is it...
I
That's okay.
did not touch anything. Do you want me to play with it?
No, it's fine. Somehow I'm not able to view your video properly. It's kind of frozen, and I'm not sure if it is just for me.
Let me try again. I changed the definition. Let me know if you see any difference.
Yeah, we'll give a moment. Yeah, it's blurred actually somehow.
Because maybe I go to standard definition.
Yeah. Or probably you can turn off and turn on again. Sometimes it takes.
Yeah, I can do that.
Joining, that's great, amazing. There should be a way to show how many people have joined actually, but we'll give another. Yeah, 105 people have joined already, and we have 178 people watching live. So yeah, I think we are pretty good. We'll keep we'll wait for another couple of minutes before we start, so that we have everyone join. And even if you have joined late, you can you don't need to worry. You can simply join the game in between. This game is not a competition or something like that. It's more about making it interactive and having fun while learning.
So how's the video, Ashish? Better?
Hopefully. Still, it is a bit blurry.
You're not sure, Tabby, if there is a option for autofocus. So I think focus has changed for the camera, and that's why it's picking up something else.
Oh.
Or probably your background has removed. I remember that you had a background that got removed or something.
Let me join again.
Yeah, go
ahead.
Anyways, we are waiting for folks to join. I see 117, 118 people already joined. That's great.
Yeah, miss. It's good to have all people here. And this time we are trying different thing. Like this is a Kahoot quiz. And the idea is still knowledge sharing, but in a different way. So we try to do as much changes we can so that more people would be interested and more people would join and learn few things. So please keep on your learning journey. Don't fade away. As you could see, 600 people passed the first knowledge check. By second, it has become like half of it. And it's very common. Continuation is very complicated. People are not able to continue on properly, or they get distracted or something else happens. But yeah, consistency is important for anything you do, whether it's a career, whether it's some thing you are learning. So consistency is important. So please make sure you follow it. And if you learn something, share it on LinkedIn too. Share it on any other social media if you like, so that others can also get benefited from it and get most out of this program. So we are still seeing a lot of people joining in, 192 live. And now Tabby has entered into studio. Let me add her again. And, sorry, Prasad, probably you.
Yeah, I think we both were updating it. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I see Tabby now.
You're good.
Is it better?
Tabby, we can see you now. Yeah, much better. Right.
Yes, now we
all
can
the best.
So don't remove me, Ashish. This happens when you remove me. I think it switches between the cameras, but you're good now. Thank you.
Yeah, cool. Okay, we'll give Max another 30 seconds and then we'll get started, right? And Ashish and Parna will be there in the chat to help you with any questions in the chat. And Ashish and Parna, like probably after every few minutes, if you see more people joining, just paste the link of the Kahoot and the game pin so that people who are joining in between, they can also join the quiz. Again, as I said, there are two ways to play it. One is on your desktop by going into this Kahoot.it and using the game pin, or on your mobile. You need to have the view of both the screen that I'm presenting as well as the screen on which you'll be selecting the right option. So ensure that you are able to have access to both of it. With that, I think let's start. We have 129 people joining. Let's make it 130. The moment it will be 130, I'll start it.
Let's
Come
go.
on, who is joining us? Oh, it became 128. Do not be shy. Come on, 129. Okay, Ranga joined. One more person. And 130 demo. Okay, so we have 130 cross. So let's start it. So this is the BeSA week 3 VMware. And let's start with the first question. It's a word cloud. Where do you live? Just icebreaker. Where do you live? We want to know from where all we are joining, the participants are joining. So you have 30 seconds to type in your answer. So once you type in your answers, we will go and have a look about where people are joining us from. Okay, we have got 70 plus answers, 75. Okay, we need to reach at least 100 plus. I'm sure we'll be reaching it. Last second, yes, we got 102. 4 answers. Okay, let's see. Kuala Lumpur, Munich, Texas, Michigan, Somalia, Delhi, London, Dallas, Austin, Chicago, Germany, Kenya, South Africa, USA, Bangalore, Australia. So we have people from all around the world, right? So
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So let's go to the next question. And just another word cloud as an icebreaker. What is your role? Right? So are you a developer, SA, manager, coming from a completely different background, a student? What role are you from? What is your role? And while people are answering, once these icebreaker questions get passed, we'll start with the 4 sections of the VMware. Okay, we got 103 questions, so let's see. Career students, DevOps, IT support, project manager, principal SDE, manager, solutions, consultant, DevOps engineer, software engineer, solutions architect. Obviously we have a lot of solutions architect. That's great. Software developers, data engineers, consultant, logistics, cloud designer, DevSecOps engineers. Okay, you can see on the screen.
Awesome. Yeah, amazing. Different, diverse background, diverse cities and towns. That's awesome.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Let's go to the next question. And this is for people who have actually done the knowledge checks for the badges, and we would like to know a little bit. This is more of a poll. So you have around 15 more seconds to answer it. That what's the difficulty level of the knowledge checks for the badges? Was it easy, medium, difficult, or not attempted yet? 5 more seconds. Cool. Okay. Majority of you says it is medium. None of you found it difficult who have attempted. That is good. We can increase the bar now. We can make it a bit more difficult for folks. Thank you. And then, okay, there are 20 people who have not attempted. But yeah, cool. Thanks for this. Now let's get into this week's topic is VMware fundamentals. Right. So we'll start with understanding what's the knowledge of the VMware is. Obviously, if you're coming completely new and who do not have idea about the VMware, it will be very difficult to get crammed up within an hour. So we will, probably provide you with some high-level concepts, and then it will be up to you to do a lot of reading and get crammed up. Okay. And why VMware is such an important topic in today's world in migration modernization is this. If on-prem workloads is the entire pizza, how many workloads do you think does run on VMware? Like what's the VMware slice would be of a particular pizza? Is it 45%, 65%, 85%, or 95%? Okay, 9 of you got it right. Mm-hmm. It is 85%.
Yeah. Yeah, so VMware, just to get a little bit of a background, is a pioneer in virtualization, right? And they founded in 1988. today a significant portion of enterprise workload on premises sit on VMware, between 60 to 85%. So 85 was the correct answer. And a fun fact, Gartner had an analysis and they indicated that 90% of the Microsoft workload runs on VMware. So that's a significant portion.
Yes, and that's why it is so important when you're talking about migration modernization. And if you're a customer on a on-prem, you would see more probably they would be running it on VMware. So that's when it becomes a very important topic. Anyone who wants to become a migration modernization essay to learn about VMware. Okay, next question. Let's see first the scoreboard. Okay, Ash, 1, 2, 3. If it is Ashish, then yes, Ashish, definitely you will be winning it. So cool. And then Ashish is an ex-VMware. If folks you do not know, Ashish is an ex-VMware person joining AWS. Okay, this is the first question. Which VMware product is used for virtualization management in software-defined data center architecture? Is it vSphere? Is it vCenter? Is it NSX? Or is it vSAN? And if you don't know it, do not worry at all. At this point, we will be talking about these concepts in a few moments. Okay. 40 of you got right, vCenter, and I see there's a close contest between vSphere and vCenter, and it's completely understandable. Okay, Ashish CIC joining the call. Ashish, do you want to?
I wanted to say something like people who are new to Kahoot, they have to see the question on the screen. On mobile, they just see the icon. So that is one person's question was there. Like they are seeing only the icons for clicking in. So that is expected. You read the question on screen and on your mobile, you would be answering it. And yeah, Ash 1, 2, 3 was me. I'll not be answering. I was just testing.
Yes, sir. As I said, like you need to have access to both the screen that we are showing as well as the screen where you're answering, and that can be on your browser, on your mobile, wherever it is. You need to have access to the both. That's how this Kahoot app works. Okay, to talk about this, let me go to the slide. I'll see. Okay, SJ is leading now, and then I would let Tabby to talk about all the architecture. Yeah.
Yeah, there are a few related VMware products that, if you don't work with it on a daily basis, it kind of get confusing. vSphere, as you said, versus vCenter. So this diagram, if you look at it, the hardware layer is the bottom layer. It's basically talking about the physical server, the foundation compute that's in your data center or the customer data center. There's also a physical storage, SANs, local storage, etc. Everything that physically you can touch. And then the network, the physical networking infrastructure. So the bottom layer is just the hardware layer. Then on top, you see the software layer where the VMware, the software definition of virtualization sit on top of this hardware layer. The vSphere or ESXi hypervisor is just the abstract way of or virtualization layer that basically abstract the physical compute resources underneath the hood. Then we have the vSAN, which is the software-defined storage that virtualizes the pool physical storage. Thanks, Prasad, for pointing that. That makes a big difference. And then we have the NSX, which is the software-defined networking that virtualizes the network resources. So we have the hardware layer and then the software sitting on top of it. And then there is a virtual hardware layer in the middle, which shows virtualized compute, memory, storage, and network resources, right? And then there is a management layer, which was the previous question was talking about the vCenter. The centralized management platform for entire vSphere environment is done by the vCenter server. And obviously the VMs or virtual machines are, they each have their own operating system running independently on the shared physical infrastructure, right? So the key concept this diagram is trying to demonstrate is you're creating a software-defined data center or a layer on top of your physical resources that abstract and, pool, allow multiple virtual machines to share the same physical resources while providing isolation. So if one runs into a problem, doesn't affect the other VM. So we have vSphere, NSX, vSAN, and ESXi. Remember that it may come handy for the follow-up questions.
and the knowledge check too.
Yeah, and the knowledge check, yes.
Okay. with that, let's move to the next slide. How do we map VMware to AWS native technology?
Yeah, good transition. So if you look at it, the management layer, the VMware vCenter and NSX Manager correspond basically when you migrate things, it corresponds to the AWS Management Console, right? And that EC2 that you see is basically the virtual machine in the VMware environment is equivalent to our Elastic Compute or EC2. The networking layer, which is the NSX logical switch, basically maps to our Amazon Virtual Private Cloud, or VPC for short, which provides similar network isolation and management to NSX for VMware. And as far as the storage, there are different type of storage for vSphere cluster that have vSAN correspond to it. It can translate depending on the use case to an EBS, which is an attached volume to EC2 or the virtual machines, or it can be a file share such as FSX. And then the physical infrastructure, the bottom layer is basically mapped to the infrastructure, which I think this diagram, it demonstrates that the customer on top still interact at a very high level, and they're kind of isolated about what's going on. And it emphasizes that underlying migration doesn't affect the customer experience or the user experience. Anything that I missed, Prasad, that you want to add?
No, you covered it well, actually. All right. Let's see how much of this has been grasped by
Sure.
our audience
Let's
in
see.
the
Yeah.
next slide, in the question. But yeah, again, if you're new to this whole concept, then we understand that in 2 slides, you'll not be able to become an expert of VMware basics and how it maps to AWS. So we'll be sharing resources after it for you to read on. And even if you go to YouTube and just search for VMware basics, VMware fundamentals, you'll be able to get a quick, half an hour overview where you will be able to understand. So I personally do not come from a VMware background. I come from a more Microsoft workloads background. But yeah, I ramped up on this pretty quickly over the last years. Okay, cool. What does ESXi represent in VMware architecture? I think, Tabby, you explained it really well. Let's see. 15 more seconds for people to answer. 10 more seconds. Okay, we got around 80 people answering. Hypervisor for server virtualization is the right answer. Yes, that's exactly true. Yeah.
That's right. It's basically, if you want to explain it in a simple term, is as I explained, it just kind of let the one physical server run many virtual compute, right? And it gets installed directly into the server, act as a referee if you're like playing sports, dividing up the server CPU, RAM, storage, and everything to make sure everybody gets their fair share. So good job. 53 correct answers.
Yeah. Cool. Let's move to the next one. I see DD1 climbing on the top, then Ratnesh, then SJ. Great job. What's the relationship between vSphere and vCenter? And I know that people get confused between this, so that's why this question. Okay, we have got more answers than last time, and 79% of you answered it right. Yay!
Yeah, it's the management platform, manages vSphere. Awesome.
Awesome. Great. Let's go to the next question. And I think now we'll be jumping into the second section, which is the VMware migration pathways. The first section was about VMware fundamentals. Now let's talk about, if you have the VMware workloads on-prem, what are the pathways that we have to migrate them to AWS? Right. So, Tabby, go for it.
Yeah, sure. So at AWS, we always work backward from our customer needs, right? And we always provide so many options because it's good to have multiple options, right? And as you can see, this diagram, I start from the bottom. The first option is Amazon EBS, right? Which is the first party or AWS offering. It's an easy ramp to elasticity and basically scale. Come in your VMware environment. If you're married to the VMware environment and you don't want to rehost or replatform, that's the way of extending it to AWS and take advantage of AWS native services. We have a slide coming on that, so I'm not going to emphasize too much on that. The second option is obviously rehosting it on Amazon EC2. And I think the main component of this session is we get into AWS Transform and how that would accelerate this rehosting. Again, it comes with benefit because infrastructure costs will be reduced, your licensing costs, and it gives you an advantage of scalability and resiliency on the cloud, right? Another option is replatforming for the type of application that are compatible, and you can replatform and move them to a container, either ECS, Elastic Container Service, or Elastic Kubernetes Service. Those are also a good candidate or a good option, one of the pathways. For the databases, managed services, let's say if you had a relational database running on VMware, a good option, if it's compatible, would be going to RDS, right? Or if you were using a file share, a good option would be using some of the managed services like Amazon FSx on AWS. And then if you want to step further and completely refactor and go cloud native, those applications can completely be rewritten and run on Lambda serverless, as an example. We also have a couple of other options, like for the workload that cannot come out of your data centers, let's say for latency or SLA issue. We have an option for Outpost, where you still have an advantage of being connected to AWS services, but it looks like having AWS services on-prem. And then we also have two partners, depending on the use case, Nutanix Cloud Cluster on AWS or NC2, which allows customers to move their VMware workload into a Nutanix format to AWS. And we have the Red Hat OpenShift service, or ROSA for short, if it can be a good candidate. So as you can see, we have multiple options, and depending on the assessment and criteria, we give our customers or end users an option to pick the best end platform for the migration journey.
Yes, thanks, Tabby, for giving the overview.
Sure.
Again, each of these pathways in itself is quite in depth, right? We'll be focusing today on EC2, mostly because we're talking about AWS Transform, when we will dive deep, but we'll also touch upon EVS. And then in the coming weeks, that is week 5 and 6, that's when we'll be talking about modernization, where we'll be talking about the containerization and serverless and the whole refactoring part of it in the week 5 and week 6. Right. So with that, let's dive deep into the questions. Let's see if we have more slides. So we have another slide.
Yeah, I think this is like more of a typical migration journey, or the transformation journey we see with customers. The phase 1 is probably 50% of your workload still needs to run on VMware. So the option would be EVS, which is Elastic VMware on AWS. 50% are compatible. You can rehost it on EC2. Phase 2, that after you've done that and you're fully on AWS, you revisit, right? And then you decide, okay, 20% or 30% of the EVS still can come out, and you can replatform, go to containers or managed services. And the journey continues. Phase 3, again, it's not a magical bullet that happens overnight. It needs assessment, thorough analysis, application compatibility. And as you can see, towards the phase 3, and it might be a phase 4 and 5 in certain cases, you're more into containers, managed services, and serverless and cloud native, and you only have like 5% remaining in EVS. The goal is to come off of VMware and just be compatible and running on the cloud, which will cost, it's cost effective, and it helps with operational efficiencies.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. Thanks. Yeah, exactly. So as Tabby mentioned, obviously these numbers are just
an estimate. Yeah.
Exactly, just an estimate. Think of this as more of an X and a Y kind of stuff. But depending upon customer to customer, what we have seen is that if they are fully on their VMware, then while migrating, there might be some workloads which, because of XYZ reasons, cannot be migrated to EC2 directly, and they might be having a tight timelines in terms of data center exit or something like that. In that case, VMware to VMware migration with EVS on AWS would be the faster, but there might be few workloads which can be easily migrated to EC2, so that can be the split. And once they are on AWS and data center exit has happened, that's when you start iteratively modernizing them to containers, managed platforms, depending upon if it's database to RDS or Aurora, so on and so forth. Right? Cool. So with that, let's go to testing some knowledge. Which VMware migration pathway follows the relocate migration strategy? Relocate, right? So which one is relocate? It is directly from the slide. So let's see.
You just talked about it.
Yep, most of you got it right, which is Amazon EVS, which is the relocate strategy. Cool. Next, move on to the next one. Which migration approach is recommended for modern apps? Okay, we got more than 100 people answering. And the right answer is refactor, right? Most of you got it right, but I see a lot of people thinking about it as a replatform also. Replatforming is onto the managed services. Refactoring is when you actually factor them to the cloud native, right? Tabby, do you want to add anything?
No, that's it. You summarized it. Refactoring, it was the last step in our migration pathway where you actually rewrite and re-architect the application, right? So you're not obligated to keep the legacy. You can run it as a serverless or, other cloud native services. I agree with you. Replatform is more about using managed services or ECS, EKS.
Yeah. Awesome. Let's move ahead. We have a lot of content still to cover. So if you see here, we are in 15 on 34. That's how much we need to cover. And then there is a demo also. So let's speed it up. True or false? Simple question. AWS MGN migration service can be used to migrate VMware workloads to Amazon EVS. It's true or false?
And this is assuming the participant joined the last week, right? Which we had a deep dive on MGN. So
yes, exactly. Okay, so seems like some explanation is needed here.
Yeah, so if you remember from last week, our application migration service or MGN is used to kind of migrate, right, and rehost any legacy, including the VMware, into EC2, right? So that's applicable for that case. EVS, as Ashish, Prasad was explaining, it's basically an offering that allows to bring your VMware workload, right? The same way it's running on-prem almost to run it natively on AWS. This is more of a relocate scenario, right? And this is the case that you don't want to rehost and you don't want to re-platform. You want to bring it as is for so many reasons, right? It gives you scalable resources because you brought them into cloud. It has native integration with AWS services, and it gives you a consistent VMware experience across your on-premises and cloud. Specifically, if there's a skill gap or the people that they're managing your VMware on-prem, now they're responsible for managing it on cloud, there wouldn't be a huge gap, right?
Yeah,
some of the
exactly.
benefits, right, are the hybrid cloud deployment, as we talked about, reducing operational costs. And Prasad, if you want to talk about some use cases, probably when do we use EVS, that would be a good
Yes,
talking
so,
point.
and we'll come to it when we have the EVS section in the slide.
Right.
Here, for people to understand is that MGN is mainly to migrate to Amazon EC2.
Mm-hmm.
EVS is a VMware environment on AWS. So in case if you're doing a VMware to VMware migration, you can use VMware native tools like you have SCX and vMotion. I will not be getting into those, but just read about them more in the materials that we'll be sending. You can continue using the existing tools to do the migration. All right. When you are changing the environment, that is moving from away from VMware and moving on to Amazon EC2, that's where AWS MGN comes into picture. Cool. Let's go to the next slide, which I believe, if I'm not wrong, should be the section for Elastic
Yeah.
VMware service, right? Okay. So, and I'll let Tabby first talk
No,
about.
go ahead, Prasad. I think I explained. The only thing I wanted to say, the use cases would be, you can also, one of the option is exiting data center, right? You bring VMware to VMware, it's going to run similar to what it was running on prem. Some customer use cases use that as a hybrid extension, right? Like they bring the disaster recovery aspect of it running on EBS, or dev and test environment can come where production remains on-prem. Prasad, back to you if you want to add.
No, the use cases that you mentioned was exactly the same. And actually, I put that one question in the knowledge check also for them to get the badge on exactly what you mentioned about, and the question was about select all that apply, that what are the use cases, or, where Amazon EVS would be beneficial for the customer. But as you can see, if you have a customer data center on-prem, you will be able to move them onto AWS. It runs on AWS global infrastructure, and the deployment methods, you can use CloudFormation or AWS CLI or SDK. The idea for the VMware on AWS, which is Amazon EVS, was for the customers to have a seamless experience for people who have been running VMware on their on-prem, as well as who have experience with AWS. It's the best of both worlds. If there's a customer only on VMware and they want to move on to AWS, they will be able to run this EVS environment using the similar tools as they have, like SCDC Manager, vSphere, vSAN, and NSX. They will be in the VMware world with VMware Cloud Foundation as a way which bundles all these different components of VMware and provides for the user. And in case if they are a AWS native customer, they would be able to easily use the services that they are familiar with, like Amazon EC2 and S3 and RDS and all of those things seamlessly with Amazon EBS, right? So yeah, we previewed it, I believe, earlier this year in Q1 end or Q2, early Q2, right? It's been a few months now. It is in general availability. I think the preview happened during the reInvent, if I'm not wrong. So yeah, there's a lot to explore in Amazon EVS, and we will be sharing with you materials on that about how you can explore it further. With that, let's see if we have a question on, VCF, right? Okay, seems like I did a bit of that. Let's see. Okay, yes. Forget this only virtualization capabilities here. Just think about the question as, what is VMware Cloud Foundation primarily designed to provide? Which of this is the right answer? Only around 47 people were able to answer this. I can understand this might be a new topic for a lot of people, but yes, VMware Cloud Foundations is actually an integrated software stack combining compute, storage, networking, and the cloud management. With that, let's move on to the next question. Which is the following is the foundation layer in Amazon EVS architecture? Ten more seconds for people to answer. Yes, most of you got it right. VMware Cloud Foundation, but I see there's a good mix of other things also. So yeah, Cloud Foundation is the basic foundational layer, and VCF includes vSphere, SDTC, and other, all the components that make up a VMware environment. They're all bundled into VMware Cloud Foundation, and they're shipped together.
We had a slide, previous one, that will kind of depicting
Yes,
the layers and the components. So if somebody needs to go back and review, that's a good opportunity.
Let me see if I can do that. I just don't want.
No, it's okay. I guess that was for the audience. Later on, they can replay. Yeah, that's it. So
yes, VMware Cloud
that
Foundation.
includes all the other components. Yes.
Yes. Okay, let's go further and click on next here. Yes. Okay. And then the final topic, right? AWS transform. How are we doing on time? Okay, we need to speed up a little bit because I want to cover it well in the demo also. Next quiz. What is the main person of AWS transform? If people have heard about AWS transform, let's see if they'll be able to get it right. It is used for backup solutions, AI-based recovery service, recovery, disaster recovery, network security, or migrating and modernizing workloads. Yes. Okay. Most people seems to have got it right, which is yes, AWS Transform is a service for migrating and modernizing workloads. Salim leading it, and then we have Preetham and Anu and Jake and Kumari. Okay. Tabby, go for it.
I can take that. Yeah. So the AWS Transform, you were right. Most of you answered that correctly. It comes in different flavors, right? There's a .NET, there's a mainframe, but this specific today's topic is on AWS Transform for VMware, which is an agentic AI-based approach for VMware modernization, right? And we talked about it. It kind of rehosts the VMware on Amazon EC2. And the beauty of it is it's using a purpose-built AI agent that automate and simplify the end-to-end transformation, right? Streamline the whole migration process and significantly reducing cost and time, right? Because and we go through the demo and you see what it takes, because translating the network component on VMware into the construct of AWS, if you want to do that manually, it's time consuming, right? So the beauty of this agentic solution is it takes care of all the translation, and we go through a slide and I explain more. It's an end-to-end solution, cost effective, time saving. And at the end of the day, the real benefit would be eliminating the licensing fee and reducing the operational overhead too, right? And obviously, when you come to the cloud, the security enhanced, you're more resilient, you have access to 200 services. So that's the gist of it. I think we have more slides to dive deep, unless if you want to touch base on .NET and mainframe, Prasad.
Yes, very quickly. At this point, AWS Transform has 4 different flavors. One is assessment, which helps you build the business case for migration. VMware, Tabby already mentioned. Then we have VMware, which is help you to modernize your IBM ZOS applications. And .NET helps you modernize your .NET framework applications, which can run only on Windows, to the latest version of .NET, also known as .NET Core. But yeah, it's .NET 8, which is the latest version of .NET. And so that you can run those on Linux, because the latest version of .NET is cross-platform and open source. So you can do that. So yes, these different agentic AIs that will help you work on those specific workloads to help you migrate and modernize. As I mentioned, we will dive deep today specifically on a VMware aspect of AWS Transform. Cool. Let's go to the next section and very quick. Which of the following is not supported by AWS Transform? Directly from the slide before.
Yes.
10 more seconds.
Okay. Oh. So the assessment aspect, the first version in the previous slide was to estimate the cost running on-prem, right? So it definitely covers that one. The VMware, we talked about it. The IBM is the version ZOS of the mainframe that actually AWS Transform for mainframe is capable of documenting, translating that, and then the .NET we discussed. So I think the only one that was correct was the EVS. Remember, EVS was VMware to VMware versus AWS Transform is bringing your VMware and legacy to EC2. So that was a tricky one.
That was a tricky one, specifically so that people do understand. And that is why we are reinforcing it again and again.
Right.
So MGN, as I mentioned, is going to move your VMware workloads to EC2. AWS Transform, as you'll see in further slides, is built as an agentic AI, which uses these services to do those migrations, and that will help you move to Amazon EC2. Amazon EVS is a VMware solution on AWS. Using AWS Transform, you will be able to move to Amazon EC2, not EVS. If you are moving to EVS, then you can use the VMware native migration tools as they provide. Right? Okay, cool. Let's continue. And this is where we'll talk about VMware agent architecture.
Yeah, this one and the next slide, I think they kind of go hand in hand. I think I kind of touched based on that. It's an agentic AI solution. And as you can see, it's walking through a workflow, right? It starts with connecting to your existing on-prem VMware environment. And we have different options to do that. Application discovery or ADS is one way to use and leverage. This agent would use ADS to connect and kind of get an inventory of what's existing there, right? Or you have different option too. If ADS is not an option, you can always upload a flat file, which is RV Tools export, right? Import, export, and use that. But there are advantages. We can get into the more detail of using ADS. And then it analyzes the workloads and dependencies, specifically when you use the ADS, because it kind of helps with the wave planning and put different applications that belong together into a move group that helps with the wave planning. And I'm telling you, if you want to do these manually, it takes months, specifically if you're dealing with thousands of servers, to put them in different move group. I've done it myself, and this is like a time lifesaver. And then it assesses the readiness. And then another aspect of this is network conversion or translation, right? It takes care of translating the VMware network construct to AWS, and then eventually it uses the MGN or application migration service underneath the hood, which is all automated. There's no manual intervention, not at the moment, involved. You can get involved as a human in the loop to review all the changes, to modify things as needed, but usually it's an end-to-end process, and it will take care of the migration and rehosting things onto EC2.
Yes.
And I think the next slide is, if I don't know if the next one, if there's, yeah, this one is exactly talking about how it starts with discovery and data ingestion. It can be an RV Tools flat file you upload, or it can be an RDS that connects to your environment. We also work with other partner discovery tools. Then based on the information and network connectivity and how these servers are communicating, it determines the wave and move groups, which is lifetime saving. Then it takes care of network conversion and translation. We have a more detailed slide talking about what network topologies are supported for both source and the target. Then uses MGN to do the migration. And then everything is kind of consolidated. You have a central dashboard that you can collaborate, you can bring other people, and you can look at the status and the progress, and also human in the loop. Because as part of the process, it also creates some CDK or cloud formation, which you have an option to download, modify, upload. So there's a beauty of, like, it's not eliminating us, it's just doing undifferentiated heavy lifting work, and then we go as an advisor and supervisor to make sure it's doing the right thing. So I think Prasad, if I'm not wrong, we've proven that to be 80 times faster, specifically if we use a certain aspect of the network translation versus doing it manually.
See, a lot of these things, especially these two, right? Like, we do have a tool for ADS, which this particular agent is going to call on your behalf, and you can configure that. And for VMware migration and deployment, we do have MGN. But these two are the major, like, differentiators, because wave planning is what is being done manually as of now, which is quite time consuming, as Tabby mentioned. And the network conversion, again, mapping network, VMware network onto AWS network. If you remember the slide where Tabby has mapped the VMware services onto AWS, there was NSX on the VMware side. On AWS, we have Amazon VPC. Like, converting those is a time consuming. So yes, getting these things automated helps customers a lot.
And
Okay.
it's end to end, right? You do,
Yes.
it's like it's just more of a job that you send to the queue, and it takes care. I'm done with this. I verify that, go to the next step, that's the ease of end to end seamless migration, which I really love.
Yes, we do have a demo for it. Let's see how much time we'll be able
We
to
can
spend
get to
on
that, hopefully. Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, quick quiz. What does the human oversight play in the AWS transfer migration process? Yep, most of you got it, right? 18 of you says it is fully automated. That's not the case. It can be automated, but it is supervised by the humans. Like you need to actually approve. It will show you that this is what I've discovered. This is what we are going to group in the waves and stuff. We'll see in the demo. But you as a human needs to approve it before you let machine do it everything for you.
Now, yeah, I think we had a bunch of software developers in the call. If you remember, you do a committed change and then you do a pull request, right? And you have your peer review that, right? It's similar scenario. It's doing some translation for you, it's doing some prep work, but it wants you to verify and approve that. So we definitely have the human in the loop, which increase the accuracy of what it's doing rather than blindly fully automated takes care of the migration for you.
It's true. Okay, going to the next question. Again, I'm going to rush here
Yeah,
a bit.
let's go faster. We have 11 minutes left. Yeah.
Yes. Double points. What is not a transform for AWS for a transform for VMware feature?
Good job.
Good job.
Awesome. Yeah, that is something that we don't natively support. Our VPS is more of a layer 3 construct. There are ways to do that, but that's the last resort. So since we're running out of time, I'm not going to focus on that. But there are ways, if that's a requirement, we have our partner Nutanix that can take care of that through their tooling. But seems like everybody got it right. Good job.
Yeah, and they might have got it by the elimination also, because these three were present and this was not present. In case if you're new to extending layer 2 subnets, do read about it. All of you should be knowing about the OSI layers, right? The 7 layers that we have. So do read about extending layer 2 subnets. That's really important in a lot of cases when you are doing a deep dive networking setup in migrations.
Yeah, at the end, if you have extra time after the demo, I can touch base on it a little bit, but let's go through this. I don't want to,
Yeah. Okay, now network conversion.
Yeah, so we talked about this kind of briefly touch base. The source environment, there are two options that we support. We talked about a VMware vSphere, which is the RV tools that you can export and import into ATX or AWS Transport. But if the VMware is using NSX, then we have an option to import, export NSX. The target topology on AWS, we have hub and spoke and isolated VPCs. And the agent, when we talked about the network conversion and translation, we were talking about translating components construct to VPC and subnet on AWS, elastic IPs, routes, route table, NAT gateway, internet gateway. Security group and ACL is also happening only through the NSX import or export file. So if you're doing an RV2 export to do that, probably security group and ACLs are not part of it, but the remaining are being translated through the AWS transform.
Yes, that's true. And we'll talk about it in a bit more detail when we look at the demo. So we do have a couple of more questions, but that we'll come back to it after the demo. And for the demo, let me bring it up. Now, again, this is something that we use, the demo we use with our customers to enable them, and you'll be able to find them on just Google AWS Transform VMware, the homepage. In the homepage main, you'll be able to get this link. So later on, if you want to run the demo on your own, you can do it. Obviously, you can watch this recording, but in case if you want to do it on your own, you can do it. Explore the interactive demo. There'll be 4 chapters to it. We'll start with the first one, which is prerequisites, and we'll start with the demo. No, again, for the prerequisites, we'll send you, and I'll also show you the workshop, which you can walk through. When I say walk through, you can walk through in terms of reading, but you'll not be able to do it in your own account because it's available only by the AWS workshops. But you can always, read through it and understand it. And I'll show how the prerequisites are set up there. But let's start the demo here and see. The first thing first, this is how the AWS Transform looks like when you get access to it. You can go to AWS console and you can explore AWS Transform from the management console, and you'll be able to access it. There are few steps that you need to do, like create a user with Identity Management Center. management, yeah, identity center. And again, like we'll send you the links for you to set it up. But once you log in, this is the this is not AWS management console. This is a separate console altogether, which is AWS transform. And first thing first, you'll be able to create a workspace where you can do the migration or modernization, right? So click on create workspace, and you can obviously edit the name to use whatever name you would like for example here, click through demo and submit. So this is your workspace, and in that workspace you'll be able to add collaborators. Obviously, when you're doing a migration or a modernization, it's not a one person job. There might be multiple people who would be interested in actually looking through of what's happening and contribute to it. So you'll be able to add collaborators, and while adding collaborators, you will have different kinds of roles. You can be a contributor, you can be administrator, approver, just view only, right? So you'll be able to add different people with different kinds of permissions. And then once you do it, then the first thing, you would be able to kind of create a job using this transform. The first job it creates, it says that I need an AI assistant which is going to help you with your transformation process. You already created a workspace. Within the workspace, you can create multiple jobs, right? Each of the job can be a transformation job. To get started, choose a transformation you want to work on. As we mentioned, remember, there were 4 ways. One was estimate the cost, which is like your assessment. The second was the VMware, which we are going to look into today. Then we have mainframe, then we have .NET. So you can choose which job do you want to create. In a workspace, you can have multiple jobs. You can do assessment as well as migration, as well as modernization. Let's create a VMware migration job. So once you create that, it says that, okay, I'm happy to help you with a VMware migration. Now you can tell me whether you want to do an end-to-end migration, or you want to do network migration only, you want to do only network or server migration, or just the discovery part, right? We're going to do an end-to-end migration. So I'm going to do a yes, and I'm going to create a job for it. Now, this is the, once you create a job, this is how the landing page of the job looks like, right? So again, here you can edit the job name is EVMware to EC2 migration. And then you can, the job plan is combined efforts of human and generative AI. So this is always important. Like you will always see humans collaborating, right? If you see here, it's human awaiting human input. So we'll talk about it in a moment. Work log. So if you see, there are 3 parts. One is collaboration. This is where you collaborate with the AI agent, the humans. Then, and anywhere when you see awaiting human input, this is where you need to go and check what input you need to provide. Work log is where it will show you all the work items that has been done by you as well as the AI agent. And then this is when you need to specific action send to AWS transform. Dashboard tab is when once you start the migration, it will show you what's the status of the migration. Work log, as I mentioned, work log is where you see all the items that has been performed, all the work changes logs that has been performed by the agent as well as you as a human. Cool. Now, the first thing first is create or select connectors. Now we go to chapter 2, which is discovery and planning. So that was setting up the environment to do the actual migration. The first step in the migration, as Tabby has shown in the slide and explained it, is discovery, right? So let's do the discovery. So for doing the discovery, you need to add a connector to our AWS account where the discovery data would be stored. I will talk about how the data discovery would be, provided. But let's first add a connector for the AWS account. The account is existing discovery and planning. So you create up to 5 discovery accounts connection per user. You click on it, you provide your account, and then you provide the region. Click on next. Then it asks you to encrypt, and again, obviously, you can create your own and provide your own KMS key, or you can use the default Amazon S3 key, right? And then you click on it, and that's how you create the bucket. And once you create, you will not be getting automatic access. Like your AWS transform will not be able to access automatically unless there is a explicit permission that has been provided. And once that's the link, and when you open the link, you would be able to provide the explicit link. So you click on approve, and once you approve, then the connector would be finalized, and you would be having an S3 bucket where all the data would be stored. When I say stored, which data is stored? The discovery data. Now, there are 2 ways to get the discovery data. One is application discovery service. These collectors will gather the data that can be used in EC2 recommendation and wave. You can set up the collectors here. Or the other option is, as Tabby mentioned, you can upload a RV tools. So RV tools is something that is provided by VM in the VMware environment. You can export the a whole setup of the VMware environment in a file called RV tools file, which is mostly here Excel sheet, and then you can import that data, and that provides information about your VM, CPU, memory disks, network configuration, snapshots, and host information. So you can upload that here. So either through ADS or here, and you upload that and you select click continue. Once that is done, then you can review the on-prem data for discovery. All right. So once you provided that, now it shows here. Now there are two things. One, now this is being mentioned very clearly here that if you are using ADS collector, then you can do agent as well as agentless. You can do either. But these steps, otherwise, what will happen is that you'll have to do the wave planning manually. And I'll show that in a moment. So we continue with the existing data. We uploaded the RV tools, which says that it has 355 servers, but it's not able to understand the dependencies of it. So we are going to do continue with the existing data without providing the network connection data, which would have been available if you have configured ADS. Remember what was covered in week 1, application discovery service, that provides all the data. Right. So I'll continue with existing data, which is the only RB2 exports. And once I do that and click on generate waves, it will be able to actually, when I show you the waves, but that file would be empty in terms of grouping the applications into the waves. So that whole information is bundled into a file which you can download and then edit it manually to upload. As the AWS data would have been present, then actually you would be able to kind of look into this uh, and make edits. But if it is not present, what we are going to do is we are going to edit it manually, add the information, and provide it back to the system. So here, this is how we're going to put, like, this is the app 1, this is wave 1, this is app 2, wave 1, and then we can move them to wave 2 if needed, and then upload the waves to the AWS transform. I know we are on time, but I'm going to take 5 more minutes and we're going to cut short the behavioral track. Sorry, Nabil and Parna, but we need to continue with that demo here. And we upload the file migration and then we click on continue here. So once we uploaded the wave information, which is the grouping, then what we're going to do next is we're going to talk about the target. So we have information about the source now, right? Like what all applications were there, what are servers were there, how they are grouped, and we provide the waves. Now let's talk about the target where we are going to deploy it. And for that, we're going to create and select another, which is the provisioning chapter. Let's go there, create and select connectors. Now this is, if you say connect target AWS account, this is where the deployment would happen. So you're going to obviously provide the AWS account name and the region, click on next. Again, there will be S3 bucket. So you're going to provide permission to it, copy the verification link, and follow the same process to approve it so that you are able to get the connection. Once the connection is done, that's when you'll be able to import the network data. Again, there are 2 ways to do it. One, as Tavi mentioned, NSX file or your normal RB2 export. So when I click on next, it's going to translate and deploy additional VPC. So it has an option to deploy to your existing VPC. It has discovered already how many VPC it has. And you can either translate to external existing VPC or deploy on a new VPC. So we can do a new VPC here. Upload the file, again, RV tools or NSX. If you have NSX, it will be able to build the security groups also. Upload the file, and once you upload it, select which particular file you would like to do, and then click on next. And again, once you're talking about the deployment strategy, it can be either hub and spoke or it can be isolated VPCs. So depending upon your situation, you can think about which one you would like to select. And if you're not aware of what hub and spoke and Azure VPCs are, do check one of our playlists of the previous batches where we dive deep into the AWS networking a lot, and then you'll be able to understand these architectures. Click on next and then generate the VPC configuration. And while generating VPC configuration, there is a possibility at some points that it does provide you with a cloud formation template to create the whole VPC structure for yourself. You can obviously download that, modify and deploy the network on your own. You can download it, make the changes, and deploy it on your own, or you can simply, ask AWS Transform to do it on your behalf, right? Like outsourcing it. So AWS Transform is going to deploy it, And while deploying, it might run into service quota. If that happens, it will go. You can directly go to the AWS console from the AWS transform, and then you can kind of increase the quotas. As you can see, there are quotas per region is 5. You might want to increase it, so you can increase the quota value, and then you can talk. Here, there's a readout about the other networking construct that you might want to consider. So once you do that, you can click on continue, and then in the VPC dashboard, you'll be able to see the new VPCs that has been created. So we have now the target structure there. Now it's about starting the migration. Now here, if you see that VMware migration is done via MGN. The last part, deployment, they're going to use application migration service, right? And that we have covered in depth in the previous session. Click on next, you'll be able to set up the service so that the AWS transform is connected to MGN, and you'll be able to pass on the data and do it. Now you can see that depending upon the wave plan that you uploaded there, it's going to create those waves, and you can start with any of the wave that you would like, and obviously name them differently, right? Like a wave application name X, a wave application X2, or so on and so forth. You can start the deployment of the servers to the waves and click on here. First, it sets up the EC2 recommendation preference that you would like it to be a current server specification, maximum utilization, average utilization, percentage of utilization. Based on it, it provides you a recommendation of which EC2 instance you would like to select. And then you can do that. And then again, you can do it as a shared extension or dedicated. Let me see. Yeah, shared instance or dedicated instance. Again, based on your requirements, you can choose that. And then you can generate the EC2 configurations. Once you generate the EC2 configurations, then you can choose the engine connector, and where you will be able to look at the waves. This is the waves that is going to be done, number of servers for each of the wave. Click on the applications, and then you can download the inventory, and you can make any changes in the dashboard. You'll be able to see that, okay, these many servers in scope, these many applications in scope. So there are 11 applications running across 81 servers, and they are grouped in 4 waves. And then you can see the progress at the end. When you are able to complete it, you'll be able to see a status like this. That's pretty much that I had to cover on the demo. I know we are a bit over time, so what I'll do is that any questions on these, obviously feel free to put it on the Discord channel. But what we will do is that we will create or provide an extensive list of resources for you to go through. Now, this particular topic is very huge, and it's very difficult to cover it within an hour, right?
We may need a follow-up, exactly, because I see questions coming up. We can respond via an email. There are different ways that you can use ADS, agentless versus agent-based. There are advantages of using the agent-based. We can share that article with you. And the last question that was shared, yes, the transform uses MGN underneath the hood, and it creates those launch templates, but you have to be involved. It takes you to the MGN, and same thing that you used MGN before, it would be the same process. We will respond to all these questions probably in an organized email, Prasad, if you agree. So
yes,
we cover all, and we had a couple of questions left, and I think maybe the layer 2 extension too, that is something that we can cover in detail via an email.
Yes, that's true. So this can be a batch in itself, very frankly. Like, it's a topic that we
Exactly.
run with our customers for very long.